know, um, I know Grandma Ethel and Grandpa Samuel,
Yeah.
who are three children,
Mm-hmm.
and they both moved here from Russia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, before I start with them, I wanna move as far back as you can remember.
So I can remember.
Yeah, as you can remember about their history.
Oh.
I'll start with Grandma, and who were her mother and father?
Her mother.
Take a look at me or at the camera. I figured we just
Her mother's name was Anne, and her father's name was Solomon.
Uh-huh. Did you know them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew them.
They moved
My grandfather traveled quite a bit. They lived in Russia in a town. I think it was Odessa or one of those towns around there.
Yeah.
And
That's Anne.
no, Solomon. Yeah, Solomon and Ann.
Solomon,
Yeah, and their last name was Feldman.
Yeah.
But when they came here, he decided to change his name to Philo, thinking it was a more of an American name, and it's a very unusual name, F-I-L-O.
Yeah.
And my grandfather came here once to New York, and he didn't like it. So he came back to, they were planning to move out of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I think he went to England too, but anyway, what happened was that somehow he
came here once and then came back?
Went back to Europe. Yeah, grandmother.
When was that?
Grandmother and her two daughters. Grandmother had two daughters, my mother and Aunt Sarah. When was that? That was when my mother came here when she was about 11, so that was before that.
So around what year was that?
Well, let's see.
Grandma was 11. When was Grandma born?
God, I have the records at home,
Yeah.
but I don't have them here.
Well, about then.
You'll have to update that
Not the right
when I get home.
details, yeah. I'll look at the tape and probably think of questions when I'm looking at it again.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
whatever you can think of. So
Anyway, then he came back. He would travel around, come back to his wife and his two daughters, and then he went to St. Louis.
that was Ethel and Aunt Sarah.
Yes, Sarah,
Yeah.
Ethel, and Aunt Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, they came here when she was about 10 or 11, I guess, and Sarah was younger, and she went to work right away handling a sewing machine.
Aunt Sarah?
Mother,
Uh-huh.
my grandma did.
Aunt Sarah
She went to work
older,
right
you said,
away.
or-
No, Aunt Sarah was younger.
Who's young?
And
Who did she work for?
I don't know. And she met a German lady. It's called Stella. Gee, I can't think of her last name. And she taught mother how to speak English.
Mm-hmm.
She was a lifelong.
in St. Louis?
Yeah. Stella was a lifelong friend.
Mm-hmm.
She gave us presents every year for our birthdays, and as we got older, she would send us birthday cards when we moved to Detroit.
Mm-hmm. She was German?
Yeah.
She wasn't Jewish?
No, she wasn't Jewish. She wasn't married. She had she had a mother who was overbearing, and she had a boyfriend who was a chiropractor. And in those days, chiropractors weren't very well thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, Stella didn't get married till her mother died. She married this chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's where Grandma met Daddy, my father in St. Louis.
How old was she?
She got married when she was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and she first had Auntie Alma when she was 20, and she had me about 18 months later.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 18 months difference between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And my first recollection, I was born in a house, and there was a Dr. Press. He was a young doctor, and he delivered both Auntie Alma and me. And Mother thought that he registered our names with the proper authorities.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. And by the time we were 4 years old, mother decided that we were old enough to go to kindergarten, although 5 years was the age that kids were supposed to go. So she enrolled us, and they thought we were too young, but they couldn't find any records of our birth. And mother didn't have any anyway, so they let us stay in kindergarten at 4 years old.
You were born, you say you weren't born in a hospital? You were
No,
born
I wasn't born in a hospital.
Uh-huh.
And my first recollection was the Malamphy Apartments. Now these were, I guess they were about 3 stories, maybe 4 stories high. They were built by a man by the name of Malamphy. And these were made, and he was a wealthy man, but he came here poor to this country, and he built these apartments just for immigrants to have a place to live. And there was like a U-shaped building, and in the center was a court, and that's where the children went out and played. And I don't even think it exists now anymore.
This is, what part of St. Louis was it?
I don't remember.
Not that I would know St. Louis, but...
No, I don't remember. And, let's see what else.
Why did let's see, great-grandpa Solomon move to the United States?
Well, he knew that there was some
persecutions going on?
always anti-Semitism in Europe.
Yeah. What town did they live in Europe?
Well, Odessa is one of the towns they lived in. I think my mother was born in a town called Kremenchuk, and that was on the Dnieper River, spelled with the first letters of D. You can find that on the map, and I think you can find Kremenchuk on the map. My father was born, or came from a place, I don't know where it is. I have the name of the city. I can't think of it now. But you can't find it on the map. They probably changed it after the First World War. And his father was a fur trader.
What was his name?
Manus.
Manus?
Yeah, Melvin is named
M-A-N-N-A-S as well.
M-A-N-U-S or something like that. Melvin was named after him. And he was supposed to be the wealthy man in the village there.
What? That's the village. You don't know what the name was?
I have it written down, but I can't think of it at the moment. Maybe it'll come to me. It's a name that you can't find on the map in Russia anymore.
Who was he married to?
Well, I don't know, because his first wife died when my father was young, and he remarried. Dad was raised by his stepmother, and I don't know her name either.
Yeah.
I was named after...
You didn't meet either of them?
No, no.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't. Did you know your grandfather Manus?
No.
No, you didn't. Okay.
No, he never came to this
he never
country.
Came, yeah.
He died in Europe. And let's see.
Who was I'm trying to reach back as far back as you can remember, or have been told, really. Who was Manus's parents? Did you know their names?
No.
How about? Well, I guess you wouldn't know you wouldn't know your
my grandmother's family. Their names. My grandmother's name was Lubovnik or something like that. I don't really know for sure. My mother used to correspond with her cousins when we were younger. When we lived in St. Louis, when we moved to Detroit, somehow she stopped corresponding with them, and we lost track of them.
And they never came over to the United States?
Not that we know of. Around the last time we heard from them was after the Russian Revolution, and the communists came into power, and they wrote that they were much freer now and everything, and
Mhm.
they were hoping for a better world. But that was the last I remember.
Mhm.
In fact, they would send us pictures. They were a very handsome family.
Mhm.
That was grandmother's sister, I think.
Mhm.
My grandmother's sister, not my mother's sister.
Did um did uh did your father Samuel have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I was named after one of his sisters, and
Who were they? Can you
her
remember
name.
all?
She was. This sister was married to a bookkeeper.
Yeah. What were the names of all the brothers and sisters?
I
You
don't
you
know.
don't know? Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think
Did you?
my father had a. Let's see. No, it was my grandfather. My mother's father had a brother that lived in England, but I never had any. We never had contact with him.
Mhm. Wait,
And the name was Feldman, which is such a common name that I doubt if I'd ever find them.
that was that was your
Solomon.
that okay that yeah. But what about the I guess I'm getting the families mixed up. The Samuel Shaknovitz, his brothers and sisters. Is that
I know he had brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
but how many or anything, I don't know.
Yeah.
We never bothered to ask him. He sort of, since Grandma and my mother and father were divorced when I was about 18 or 19 years old,
Mhm.
and we always had contact with him and everything,
Mhm.
but we never bothered to ask him about his family or anything.
Yeah.
Also, my mother and father brought over his nieces, Sylvia and Elsie, and their name was Mitsotsky.
Now, whose nieces were these? Your
My father's nieces,
Yeah.
Samuel's nieces. They brought them over
so
from Europe.
you knew and you met them.
Oh yeah,
So they were your cousins.
they're my cousins.
They
Yeah,
were your first cousins.
right.
What were their names?
Sylvia and Elsie.
Sylvia and Elsie. What's her last name?
Their name was Mitsotsky. It's M-I-T Mitsotsky, T-Z-O-S-K-Y or something like that.
Yeah. But you don't know who their parents were, but you know they were your cousins.
Well, no, their mother was the lady I was named after,
Mhm.
and
And her name was Ida too.
it was probably Chaya.
Chaya.
Yeah, and
Who brought them over? Your dad did.
well, yeah, my mother and father did. We sent for them, and they came.
Did they live with you?
They might have lived with mom and dad. No, Elsie was the older one. They brought her over first,
Mhm.
and she lived with mother and dad. It was either when mother was pregnant or when we were infants,
Mhm.
and then she went out on her own. Mother never got along too well with her, although Elsie always treated mother with great respect.
Mhm.
And Elsie brought, I don't know, she brought her sister Sylvia over. Now, whether mom and dad helped her with that or not, I don't know.
Mhm.
And somehow
So
Elsie,
so Grandma and Grandpa Shaknovitz brought over Elsie.
yeah.
And Elsie brought over Sylvia when she was a little older, right? Is that right?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
she, I guess, and maybe mother and father, maybe my mother and father brought over Sylvia too.
Mhm.
I don't.
And
might
this is
have
all
been
really
there.
before you were born or when you were an infant.
That's right. That's
And
right.
and did you know them when you were growing? You knew them when you
Yeah,
were growing
yeah.
up.
I knew them. Elsie somehow went to Detroit and married a real nice Englishman, and he worked for Ford Motor Company.
Mhm.
And they brought over a brother named Louis, and
That'd be another cousin of yours.
yeah, first cousin.
Mhm.
They're all three of them are dead now.
Mhm.
And then Elsie and Sylvia had two other brothers who couldn't come to this country. One of them had TB and the other one was born with a deformed hand.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just want to make sure this thing's... Is this... Oh gosh. Yeah, it says it's recording. I want to make sure this is recording. It should be a red light somewhere, but I don't see it. Do you?
no. You have you have something over one of the, you have this thing over here.
What's that?
Oh,
That's the microphone.
Oh, that's the microphone.
Well, it says it's recording.
Oh,
Well,
you can play it back.
we're going to have to do the whole thing again if it doesn't. I don't see the... There's usually a red light. Oh, here it is. I see it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, we're doing okay.
All right. Is it still focused?
Yeah, let me make sure. Okay. Okay.
Well, you got your picture in there, and that's fine with me.
Got what?
You got your picture in there. It was recording.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay, so you're telling me about, so Sylvia and Elsie brought over two other brothers? Is that what you, or had two other brothers, one of them
Oh, she
was,
had three other brothers.
three other brothers, one of them she brought over, and
The other two couldn't come to, they weren't allowed in this country because you
did
had to
they,
be
were they one of those
perfect,
people that
healthy.
came over and were turned away, or they just didn't bother coming over?
They might have been turned away
Mhm.
because Louis told me about this. Louis was a very nice looking fellow, except he was very short.
Louis was one of the was the brother that was brought over.
Yeah, yeah. He was 15 years older than I was. I didn't meet him until I was 15
Mm-hmm.
because Elsie and Sylvia brought him over and they lived in Detroit at that time and we lived in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I first met him.
Mm-hmm.
And he also worked for Ford Motor Company in Detroit. Elsie's husband, I think his name was Ben. What was their last name? Don't tell me, I can't think of it. Sylvia's last name, she married a man named Stern.
Mm-hmm.
Max Stern. And they still live in the Detroit area. No, I don't know if Max is alive or not. Sylvia is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And they had one son, and he lives in Detroit. He works for the city of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Last I heard, we sort of got together with them a number of years ago when Elsie and Sylvia were still alive. We never got along too well with Elsie and Sylvia. They were always complaining that we didn't see enough of them. The more they complained, the less we saw of them.
Mm-hmm.
And but we did see them.
Did Manus, he said what did he do in?
He was a fur trader. He bought the raw furs from the hunters
Yeah.
in the town where he lived in
And then
Russia.
did he prepare them and then sell them? Is that it?
I don't know. I don't know just exactly what he did because we never asked my dad. Most of this information was given to us by Mother.
Mm-hmm.
We never asked him, and he never volunteered to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
My father was an egg handler. You know that.
Yeah, I know that. Did he do that when he was in Russia?
No.
What did he
I don't
do?
think he did anything but enjoyed himself.
Yeah. How old was he when he came over here?
I guess he must have been in his middle 20s.
Yeah. So he was just the son of a wealthy furrier, or at least a comfortable furrier, and didn't really have a profession, and
That's
then he
right.
came over.
That's right.
And how did he come? Did he come
I
via
don't know how
New
he
York,
came, but he had landslide in St. Louis,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why he came to St. Louis to be with them.
Landslide are people from the same town.
Yeah.
And that's how he ended up in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And why did he come? Did he feel persecuted, and that's why he came?
No. He had
Isn't
a
it
girlfriend that came to this country,
Oh,
and
he was following his heart.
yeah, I think she was engaged or something by the time he came over.
So he came all the way over here and found out she was engaged, and then he decided to stay.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. That's when he met Mother.
And that's why he came to St. Louis looking for this girl?
I don't know where he was looking for her, but he had landslide in St.
Oh,
Louis.
yeah, that's right, you said that. Yeah.
So that's why he came there, and that's
Yeah.
when he met Mom.
And how did he meet Grandma?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
They were just, the Jewish people. Maybe, I don't know how.
Mm-hmm. And how old was he when he met Grandma?
Well, we never knew his exact age.
Mhm.
We never knew his birthday.
Do you know
But
what
we
year
knew-
he came over? He came over when he was in his early 20s?
Probably,
Okay,
yeah.
You go ahead.
Because Mother always said he was 10 years older than she was, and she got married at 18, so he was 28 when he got married.
Mm-hmm. He was 28. She was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know about you don't know when she was born exactly though.
Yeah,
How much older
we
was
have
she?
the exact date of her birth and everything.
Yeah.
But
How old was she when you were born? Do you know?
well, she was 20
20 when you were
when
born?
when Auntie Elma was born.
Yeah.
So she was about 20, 22, or maybe a little bit younger
Mm-hmm.
when I was born.
And you were born 1915 or?
Yeah, December the 31st, 1950.
Mhm.
And my next recollection is when we were living in St. Louis on a street called Hodemans, and I think it was on the corner, Hodemans and Julian. When I went back to St. Louis with Daddy on one of our trips out west.
Mhm.
Could have been 15 or 20 years ago, and we tried to find that corner, and I couldn't.
And this was a house you lived in, or?
We had a grocery store, and we lived in back of the grocery store.
Yeah, I remember.
Back,
telling me.
I have a picture of that
Yeah.
grocery store
Where's the picture?
at home. At home, it's a broken picture. What I should do, it's quite an interesting picture.
Mhm.
What I should do is have it, have them take another photograph and retouch it,
Yeah.
because it shows a grocery store and shows Auntie Elma and
Mhm.
myself and our girlfriend Lillian.
Mhm.
And Grandpa, my father, was standing in the back,
Mhm.
and there was a big calendar hanging on a post there, and the calendar, if you look at it with a magnifying glass, you can see the actual date
Yeah.
of the month. I think it was about 1923.
Yeah. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Well, I have it.
Mhm.
Anyway, where were we? There's so many ways to talk about that.
Well, I'm just sort of. Let me ask you. Let me just make sure. I'm just trying to cover as far back as you know or were told, and so I think I covered this. You don't know Manas's parents or Manas's wife's parents, right? So that but how about Solomon's parents? Do you know?
No,
Don't
no.
or Ann Feldman's parents? Do you?
Her name was Anne Lubovnik.
She was Lubovnik.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I thought Manas was married to a Lubovnik. No.
No,
Okay.
I don't know
I've got
who
the-
he was married to.
All right. So Solomon was married.
To Anna Lubovnik.
Okay. See, I got the sides mixed up. Okay. Solomon was married to Ann Lubovnik, and it was Solomon Feldman who changed his name to Philo,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't remember her parents
No,
or what their names were.
no.
Okay. And what did Solomon do
He was a house painter in this country.
in this country?
Yeah,
What did he
in
do
St.
back
Louis.
What did he do before he came over?
He had different trades. At one time, he was a conductor in the city, a streetcar conductor in one of the cities in Russia. They stayed within an area of Odessa and places like that.
Mm-hmm.
What he did, actually, I don't know. He seemed to be an educated man because of his travelings. He traveled in Europe quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And he came over because of persecution during.
Well, they decided they wanted to leave Europe and come to a better country. And
Yeah.
I think he went to London or England or something, and he thought there was anti-Semitism there. That's why he came to this country.
Mm-hmm. He's the one that came over and then went
Went
back.
back and then came over again to St. Louis.
Yeah.
He might have had acquaintances in St. Louis too,
Mhm.
but somehow he landed there and he liked it much better than New York.
Yeah. So you don't know exactly why St. Louis, just that you think he might.
He liked it better. That's all I
Yeah.
know.
It's probably less congested or something.
Well, it was New York was always a hubbub, and they had the tenements there and everything. It was pretty. Well, what's the word? Rough.
Mm-hmm.
Because when these Jewish people came over, they had to live in the tenements, and it was just real hard to.
Mhm.
If you want to read some books about that,
Yeah.
there's
Some
by Irving Howe. I can't think
Yeah.
something about
The
my
World of Our
fathers.
Fathers. That.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my. You want to turn that
Okay.
timer off,
Okay.
and also turn the potatoes off.
Okay. You said he went to different towns in Europe before he decided to come. He went to England, and where else did he go?
I don't know.
Yeah, you just know he traveled around.
Yeah,
And,
we left grandmother alone a lot with her two daughters.
mm-hmm. And do you know around when that was?
Well,
That was when Grandma was when Grandma was a little girl.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have at one time after grandma divorced.
How old was Grandma when he was doing all this looking?